So as the 1980s truly got underway, the world saw the launch of IBM's first foray into personal computers, bringing bleeding-edge tech into the homes of 750,000 people. In the UK, prison riots and fatal IRA hunger strikes dominated the news, likely reported on by Moira Stuart, who, at 31 years old, was appointed the BBC's first black newsreader. The UK also saw the first episode of the iconic sitcom Only Fools and Horses broadcast on BBC One, as well as the launch of the classic children's series Postman Pat. Now, this was the year that saw the first person in the UK die of an AIDS-related illness, and music legend Bob Marley died due to a rare form of skin cancer. A channel you may have heard of named MTV was launched on cable television in the United States, and Muhammad Ali would box his last ever fight, and the future had truly arrived as the first ever test tube baby was born in Norfolk, Virginia. Now, over in the movie world, 1981, of course, was the year Raiders of the Lost Ark was not only the highest grossing movie, but Paramount's highest grossing film of all time up to that point. Now, a film that even 4.5 decades later remains a gold standard in action cinema, but 1981 featured many a cinematic nugget. So here's Real Classic Film Reviews, personal picks for the 10 best films of 1981. So this is my personal list before everyone gets their knickers in a twist, and so I'm starting with a childhood favourite, the legendary Desmond Davis directed, Ray Harryhausen produced Clash of the Titans. Known mostly, of course, for its groundbreaking stop-motion animation, the movie is set in ancient Greece and follows Perseus, played by Harry Hamlin, the mortal son of Zeus, as he embarks on a quest to defeat the monstrous Kraken and save the city of Argos. Not that one. The film is notable for blending action-adventure, visual effects that were cutting edge at the time, Harryhausen's practical effects such as the iconic encounter with the Gorgon Medusa, which is still creepy as hell by the way, and also features the inspired casting of Ursula Andress as Aphrodite and Sir Laurence Olivier as Zeus. Now, maybe I'll squeeze one more guilty pleasure in the shape of Terry Gilliam's zany fantasy classic Time Bandits, possibly my favourite movie from the Monty Python maestro. Time Bandits follows an 11-year-old boy named Kevin who is swept into a time-travelling adventure after meeting a group of little people who work as time-travelling bandits, and together they journey through various historical periods, encountering famous figures such as Napoleon, King Agamemnon, Robin Hood. Now, as they move through time, they are pursued by a powerful villain known simply as Evil, played by David Warner, who basically is out to control time itself. Now, this being marshalled by Gilliam, we get all of his trademark elements of absurdity, dark humour and a bit of social commentary. Now, the cast here includes Sir Sean Connery, John Cleese, Kenny Baker, Ian Holm, and about 50 crazy ideas a minute as Gilliam bounces us from one historical set piece to the next. Brilliantly bonkers. Now, Escape from New York is a dystopian action film directed by John Carpenter and starring Kurt Russell as the iconic anti-hero Snake Plissken. Now set in a brilliantly grim future of 1997, where Manhattan Island has been transformed into a maximum security prison. The film follows Snake, a former soldier turned criminal who is given a dangerous mission: rescue the US president, played by Donald Pleasance, after Air Force One crashes inside the lawless city. With only 24 hours before a lethal explosive in his body detonates, Snake has to navigate the absolutely chaotic streets, encountering a cast of crazy characters including the Duke of New York, of course played by Isaac Hayes, and Cabby, played by Ernest Borgnine. Now, this being a Carpenter gig, you know it's going to blend gritty action, dark humour and his trademark synth-heavy score. Russell's performance as the tough and cynical Pliskin helped create a cult icon and cemented Russell as one of Hollywood's coolest stars. Now, quite possibly the greatest submarine movie ever made, 1981's Das Boot is a West German World War II thriller directed by Wolfgang Petersen and follows the crew of a German U-boat U-96 during the Battle of the Atlantic. Now, the film is based on the novel by Lothar Gunther Buchheim and presents a mind-bogglingly tense, claustrophobic portrayal of life aboard a submarine. Now, the crew, led by Captain Henrik Lehmann Willenbrock, played by Jürgen Prochnow, faces constant danger from Allied forces whilst, of course, enduring the psychological strain of being confined to a cramped underwater conditions. Now, Das Boot is renowned for its realistic depiction of naval warfare, the suffocating environment of the sub, and the crew's mounting stress as they are pursued by enemy destroyers and submarines. Now, Das Boot was originally a German TV miniseries, edited down to a still hefty 3.5-hour director's cut, and then again to a 2.5-hour theatrical cut. In whichever guise, it remains not only one of the greatest naval movies ever made, but one of the greatest war movies ever made. So, Prince of the City is a crime drama directed by Sidney Lumet, and that sentence itself should give you an indication of its quality. Now, based on the true story of an NYPD officer, the film stars Treat Williams as Daniel Cello, a conflicted narcotics detective who agrees to expose corruption within the police force, but soon finds himself trapped in a web of betrayal and moral dilemmas. Now, unlike traditional crime thrillers, Prince of the City takes a slow and methodical approach. I mean, this is an almost 3-hour movie and puts a real emphasis on the psychological impact of undercover work. Lumet, known for his gritty realism in films like Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon, delivers a movie here that questions loyalty, justice and personal sacrifice, and provides Treat Williams with his role of a lifetime. Now, Prince of the City demands your attention. It has an intricate plot, documentary style cinematography and morally ambiguous storytelling, to be honest, but it remains an underrated exploration of systematic police corruption and the cost of being on the side of the truth. Now, An American Werewolf in London is a horror comedy film directed by John Landis, and it follows two American backpackers, David, played by David Norton, and Jack, played by Griffin June, who are attacked by a werewolf while travelling through the English countryside. Now, Jack is killed whilst David survives, only to wish that he hadn't when he discovers that he's cursed to become a werewolf at the next full moon. Now, the film, probably better than any other before or since, perfectly blends horror and dark humour with a sharp script and an iconic transformation scene featuring groundbreaking and still impressive practical effects by Rick Baker, who won the first ever Academy Award for Best Makeup. Now, American Werewolf in London is both genuinely frightening, there's more than one iconic jump scare here, and wickedly funny. It's a brilliantly observed look at British life in places. Now, the eerie atmosphere, frightening dream sequences and tragic storyline make American Werewolf in London a standout in the werewolf genre. Oh, and Jenny Agutter plays a nurse, so all boxes ticked, really. Now, Chariots of Fire is a British historical drama directed by Hugh Hudson based on the true story of two athletes competing in the 1924 Olympics. And the film follows Harold Abrahams, played by Ben Cross, a Jewish runner determined to overcome prejudice, and Eric Liddell, played by Ian Charleston, who's a devout Christian who, of course, refuses to compete on the Sabbath. Now, of course, the film is best known for its iconic opening sequence of runners on the beach, set to Vangelis's stirring electronic score, which became one of the most recognisable movie themes of all time, and to be honest, more famous than the film itself. Now, despite winning 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Chariots of Fire has fallen out of the conversation these days, which is a real shame, really, as it's one of the great sports movies and features astonishing acting talent in the forms of Nigel Davenport, John Gielgud, Ian Holm and Patrick McGee. Now, one of the most uplifting and memorable films of the 1980s for sure. Now, my personal favourite of Brian De Palma's movies, Blowout, is a clever psychological thriller starring John Travolta as Jack Terry, a sound technician who inadvertently records evidence of a political assassination whilst working on a low-budget horror movie. And now, as Jack investigates, he becomes entangled in a dangerous conspiracy, along with Nancy Allen, a young woman connected to the mystery. Now, clearly and unapologetically inspired by classic thrillers like 1966's Blow Up and 1974's The Conversation, De Palma, of course, takes Blowout and naturally fuses it with his signature visual style, crazy angles, elaborate tracking shots, and intense Hitchcockian suspense sequences. Now, the movie blends both a political thriller with a tale of personal tragedy and has one of the bleakest endings that you'll see. Now, for me, Travolta delivers one of his strongest performances here. He was coming off a run of Grease, Saturday Night Fever, etc. And this movie was not a box office success upon its release, but of course it's since taken its place as not only one of De Palma's finest works, but one of the best movies of the decade. So, The Road Warrior, a movie you may also know as Mad Max 2, is a post-apocalyptic action movie directed by George Miller and stars Mel Gibson as Max Rokostansky. This is a sequel, of course, to 1979's Mad Max, and the film takes place in a desolate and barren future where gasoline is so scarce that society has collapsed and lawlessness is the order of the day. Max, a Wild West-style hardened loner, stumbles upon a small community defending their fuel supply from a brutal gang led by the masked warlord, Lord Humongous. What a name. And he reluctantly agrees to help them escape in a high-stakes, skin-of-your-teeth chase across the wasteland. Now, this movie features breathtaking practical car stunts, minimal dialogue, certainly from its lead actor, and a relentless pace. So good, Miller pretty much remade it in 2015 as Fury Road. Now, The Road Warrior set a new standard for action cinema, and may be the most influential post-apocalyptic movie of all time. Now, that high-speed finale remains one of the greatest chase sequences in movie history. So Raiders of the Lost Ark is perhaps the action-adventure classic. Directed by Steven Spielberg, produced by George Lucas, and starring Harrison Ford as the charismatic archaeologist Indiana Jones, the film follows Indy's race against the Nazis to locate the biblical Ark of the Covenant, which is said to grant immense power. Now, set in the 1930s, the story takes Ford's rough and ready history professor across the globe, from the jungles of South America to the deserts of Egypt, as he battles the bad guys, survives deadly traps, and reunites with his former flame, Marion Ravenwood, played by Karen Allen. Now, the film blends practical action, humour, and supernatural elements with set pieces that were so expertly choreographed that you can't believe that they are 44 years old. In any montage of great cinema, you'll see that iconic boulder chase. Now, the horse/tank/truck pursuit is more fast and furious than any Vin Diesel effort, and it probably features one of the top 2 or 3 movie theme tunes ever. Now, Ford plays it inch perfect here, coming off both rugged and witty in his portrayal of Indy. Now, Raiders of the Lost Ark was both a critical and commercial success, earning multiple Academy Award nominations and launching a franchise that remains influential today, despite it spawning a couple of duff modern sequels. Now, if anything, they act to prove just how magical this mixture of old-school adventure serials, groundbreaking practical effects, and Spielberg's masterful direction actually was. Even though its 50th anniversary is on the horizon, it hasn't aged a day.